Well, tonight I am so excited, much like I can say everyone here is just as excited as I am, if not more. No, that's not possible. So scratch that. They're not any more excited than I am. We are absolutely about to have a good time. So if you're just getting home, get settled in, relax, get your tea. I have mine. I know Wendy has tea as well. Get whatever you need and just relax. And, you know, this is not your typical event, one, because we're having to do it this way, but thank goodness for technology that we can come together and do exactly what we intend to do, and that's celebrate community. So tonight you will hear from 5 incredible, amazing creators about their careers as well as their craft. The Recording Academy aspires to lead in creating a diverse and inclusive culture by continuing to focus our diversity efforts across gender, age, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, genre, region, and profession. Our goal is to ensure equitable outcomes for all underrepresented creators. Our panelists this evening represent many of the genres and musical professions that make our Nashville Music City chapter so unique and so diverse. Let's get started. First up, let's welcome the panelists. Now, I know, you know, time is of the essence, so I can't go through everyone's bio as much as I would like to. All you all had like 15 pages worth of stuff. At any other moment, we would have been able to do that. But for the essence of time, I'm just gonna go through and pick out some highlights. But as we talk, please, 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 if there's something that we miss, this is the opportunity that we want the community to know who you are. So don't feel shame if there's something that you wanted highlighted that I'm not going to mention. So let's start with, what'd you say, Tracy?
I said self-promote.
Yes, okay. This is self-promotion at its best. This is the gift of promotion right here. So let's start with Dwan. Dwan Hill, musician, producer, Grammy-winning songwriter. Let's see, songwriter, we could stop right there. Worship leader, business owner, entrepreneur. There's so much to say about Dwan Hill. We'll get into Dwan in a moment. Armand Hutton, producer, vocalist, composer, Grammy-nominated arranger. Okay, see, that's too many right there. I said I was going to limit them to 2. I'm getting excited though. Wendy Moten, recording artist, engineer, producer, just studio session singer extraordinaire. There's so much more to say about Wendy. We'll jump into her in a moment. Nicole Neely, musician, arranger. What else you want to say? Producer. She's so many things. So let's get going. Tracy, here we go.
Oh, we missed some.
Who did I miss?
Brian.
Oh, wait a minute. Right here standing.
Mr. Talkbox.
Right. Mr. Talkbox. Now, how could I miss Mr. Talkbox?
You got too excited.
I did. I got too excited. I'm jumping the gun. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Grammy-nominated artist. I want to even add pioneer. I think that there's some very much so pioneering work that you will just be submitted around your name and your legacy. Any given year, I feel like you're on projects from all genres, and quite frankly, have had some very notable some smashes in the last few years that I've kept up with. So I'm so excited. Seriously, here we go. Now, let's go back. Dwan, let's start with you. I'm ready to jump right in.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I want to know. This is what I want to know. Like, forget the questions. This is what I want to know. I want to know, as a songwriter, as a worship leader, and as an entrepreneur, which one of those leads for you?
Well, you are jumping in.
I'm jumping in. I don't have to listen. I'm going right in.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a great question. First of all, thanks for having me, everybody. I'm honored to be in this group of people and to be in this panel tonight. It's a dream come true. So thanks for having me. I have tried in my career to not put too many, to not let the definitions of what I do cramp who I am. And especially from a faith perspective, from a Christian perspective, it's hard to separate my faith from my craft. Those two things are intertwined, and in my opinion, inseparable. I actually try to work from a place of faith and create from a place of faith. My music, hopefully, is a vehicle of faith and inspiration for other people. Recently, when I became a worship pastor at my church, thankfully, the church allows me to bring my talents rather than kind of keep my talents at the door and just come in and be spiritual for a couple hours. They actually encourage me to build enterprise and to build companies and to write songs from a place that is from a true vulnerability and identity deep within who I am. So I'm grateful that most of the songs that I'm involved in, and prayerfully all of them, don't force me to check my skin color or my job or my background or my political views at the door. But hopefully that is a summation of who I am, and people call me because they want what I have to offer. I think that ends up producing the best music, actually, you know. So I guess to answer your question, I try not to separate them as much as possible. I try to be Dwan, the man God created me to be, and then hopefully that's a blessing to somebody else as I work.
Okay. I love it. Love it. Okay, Armand. I could really ask you the same question because you also are a label owner.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that. Not going to ask you the same question. I'm not going to do that. Too many things to ask you the same question. So I want to know, if you have to pick, most days, do you feel that you are more of a label owner, more of a vocal coach and arranger, or are you talent?
That's a great question. Because I am a label owner, my label is still really small, you know. So I find myself wearing a lot of different hats. The hat that I hate the most, I'll answer that, is manager. I don't like to be an artist manager, but I find myself doing that often, finding gigs for the artist. I'm not talking about tour manager. I'm talking about like artist managing. I don't mind being a road manager and that I give the water and make sure everything is fine with the artist. I don't mind all of that. But what I don't like is booking, those sort of things. But these are things that I find myself doing. Not so much now with COVID, but still wearing that management hat sometimes. But I love coming from the musical side. So getting with the artist and saying, you know, what do I think is gonna serve your purpose, serve your brand the best? What's the best sound that we can make? How true can we be to your artistry and to the goals of the label? And really, the goals of the label are simple: just stay true to who you are, and have some sort of an inspirational message. Make sure that when people are finished in 3.5 minutes listening to your song, that they feel a lot better, you know, listening to it. So from a musical standpoint, I find myself doing that, wearing that hat, kind of figuring out the vibe of the artistry, whether that be for my artists or for myself. I sing with another a cappella group called Street Corner Symphony, and I find myself doing a lot of the arranging for them, writing songs for them, you know, and that's kind of my wheelhouse, the vocal arranging. I love that. But because I do the label, there's a lot of things. I try my best to try to stay as musical as possible, keep the artistry going. So it's an interesting question. I probably didn't even answer it, but I try my best to. My best is kind of just knowing myself, and so in knowing myself, I know that I'm best at being as musical as possible.
What made you start the label?
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Was this gift? Was this goal? Or was this necessity? Like, that was really what I was sitting here thinking.
Yeah, good question. It's a combination of all three. Not necessarily necessity, actually. It's a combination of the first two. I was in a group called Naturally 7, and we were signed to a label called Hidden Beach Recordings based out of LA. And they were a small label. And at the same time, while I was with Naturally 7, we were opening for a singer named Michael Bublé, who's signed to Warner. So I got to see how Warner dealt with Michael on a much larger scale, and how Hidden Beach dealt with us on a smaller scale. And I had the personal number of the CEO for our label and the marketing person for our label. And I loved to see how the boutique label moved. And kind of around the same time, I was still in the groups, kind of around the same time, I started really falling in love with the history of Motown and Stax. And I realized that there were a lot of artists here in town and a lot of artists that I knew and grew up with that didn't quite know how to just jump in. They were becoming overwhelmed with the business side, incredibly talented people and incredibly talented individuals, but they didn't necessarily have a way to just jump in and to cut through the noise. And so initially I wanted to start off like how Motown and Stax did, and kind of have a collective of really talented people kind of working together, pushing each other. And at the same time, by doing that, they were creating their best material. So that's what kind of started the Hutton Records.
Right.
Okay.
There we go.
Can I just say that his talking voice is music?
I know, right?
I was thinking the exact same thing, Dwan.
That is so true.
You don't have to write a song, just talk.
How was it? Just talk, Doc.
You know, that's the worst thing you want to hear. You know, you present a song to somebody and say, you know what, you don't have to write a song. Just
Yeah.
Stop singing. Just talk.
just stop singing.
And incredible voice, man. Incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Talkbox. Now, I know your given name. I know your government name, but you don't have it up here. And I think it's fine. I want to make sure that those who are watching who don't know, what does that mean? Why this name? Tell us who you are. What do you do? And why this name is so important to what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first again, I want to say thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to talk with you all. But yeah, my name is, my government name is Byron Chambers. And Mr. Talkbox came from actually my mom, because of my love for an instrument called the Talkbox. And the Talkbox, some of you, if you don't know what that is basically a speaker and an amplifier housed into a little box with an opening so you could drop a tube on it, so that, you know, consolidates all of the sound that come up into the tube. You plug it up into your instrument, and then you put that tube into your mouth, and then you play the notes, sound comes out, and then you perform, and you talk, and then, you know, you become Mr. Talkbox, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, my love for that instrument gave me that name. You know, I started in Orlando, Florida, with my mom and dad. They had a gospel group, and we used to, you know, tour around the country, and we used to do this thing called the House of Blues Gospel Brunch on Sundays, and that's kind of where it all really kind of, you know, jumped off for me, because, you know, I was playing the Talkbox during that set, during the House of Blues. So yeah, my mom saw me. We were in sound check one day, and she was just like, "Man, you really have mastered that thing, man. We need to call you Mr. Talkbox." And I was like, "Whoa." So the name stuck, and here I am 25 years later, still doing it. It's crazy.
25 years later.
And you listened to your mother. That's amazing right there.
Yes.
I mean, just saying.
So, speaking of 25 years and doing something, I'm going to just swoop on over here to Wendy Moten, because Wendy has absolutely been doing her thing 25 plus years, but you can't look at her and tell she started when she was 2.
Thank you.
So, Wendy.
Well, you know, yeah. What's your question?
Maybe I don't have a question. Just jump on
you don't
in.
have a question.
What
Well, let me just say, I got a lot to say. You know, I've been in the music business 35 years. My first records came out during the Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion era, and I've been able to stay afloat all these years. I remember thinking, like, what's going to happen after my days at EMI? Like, what am I going to do? And then Julio Iglesias found me, and I became his duet partner forever. And I just been able to maintain and stay in the music business. That series, 23 from Stardom, it was the opposite for me, because I was a recording artist first. What to do after that would kind of die down. So I became a glorified background singer, I should say, because I like to charge a lot and I like to travel a lot. So I said, let me stay here for a while until I can figure out what my next move is going to be. So then my next move happened 20 years later, which is where I am now. I'm back to being a solo artist. And I also learned how to use Pro Tools. And I've been a member of NARAS for over 25 years. I was in the Memphis chapter for over 25 years. I was on the board of governor twice. And then 3 years ago, I decided to change my membership to Nashville because I've been living in Nashville 25 years. They're still my friends in Memphis, but they hate me. They're like, well, traitor, where are you going? But I'm like, just up the street, it's our sister city. So I'm just thankful to be a part of the Nashville chapter and find out, you know, meeting new people, be proactive. I want to be active and serve any way that I can, and to keep dreaming and stay in the game.
You know, what I find is so fascinating, Wendy, I know you know, I've known you before, everyone else I've met, but the fact that you're, the people you've sung with is all across the board. I mean, it's country, it's soul, it's everything. You're genreless, you know, you're just so great. And talk about some of the people that you've sung, you know, you sung with, because I think that's.
Well, I have been like, I've recorded duets with some of the greatest male vocalists in history. I recorded duets with Michael McDonald and Julio Iglesias, and most recently Vince Gill and John Oates. And so I just keep genres, Buddy Guy, and then I've toured with so many people until I could figure out I wanted to get back to being a solo artist. Now,
give us some of the touring people. Give
some of the touring people. I toured with Faith Hill and Tim McGraw from 2005 into 2018. So we played a bunch of arenas. I was with Martina McBride, who's one of my best friends.
Me too.
You know, best friend too, from 2014 to 2016. Vince Gill from 2016 to 2019, and I'm still with Vince. Was with Joe Bonamassa. Like I said, I was Julio Iglesias' duet partner for over 15 years, saw the world multiple times, had to sing in 5 languages. And when I came into country, where I made my Opry debut last year, that was amazing to me, to play the Opry, and I played there 4 times already. And so Nashville has just opened its doors to me, and now I want to extend myself and bring others in and continue to grow and with these types of moments like these.
All right.
All right. Nicole Neely. Strange chick. So that kind of give away a little bit.
Well, it's funny because people ask me that all the time, where that name come from, and people literally say, who's that girl that does the arrangements, the chick that does strings? So I was like, strings chick. So that's, it's just very basic. So, yeah.
So no, it's not basic. You know what it shows? It shows us too that you're the only one. It shows us that no one else has started. The fact that you can go, you know, strange chick to me is like being a one name person, right? When you get to a place where you can just be like one name, like Wendy. Strange chick is the same thing. That's saying, you know, it's just me. Like, don't even worry about anybody else is doing this. I am the only person you need to know. I personally believe that. But tell us why we need to know who you are and what do you do?
Well, I arrange and I compose for, and my main gig is I'm a string player. So I'm a violinist and a violist, classically trained, and actually a classically trained pianist too. A lot of people don't know that, but I grew up playing Beethoven and Brahms and everything all at the same time. I actually went to college for music education. Gina knows this. So I was an orchestra teacher for 10 years in South Carolina. And I might get a little emotional, but it's okay. So my mom actually got sick in 2013. She had a stroke and I had to stop teaching altogether. And the only thing that could make money was me arranging this thing that I had been dibbling and dabbling in that I wasn't really taking seriously, because we know that there's a regular check in being a teacher. And so that was the only thing that I had to actually keep some bread coming into the house. Eventually where I lived, I kind of just exhausted. It was time to move. And so I moved to Nashville December Yeah, 2017, and I packed my mom up. I asked her for permission. I had been her caregiver, so I was my mother's only caregiver. It was me and her. She actually suffered paralysis in one side of her body, so I was like it. I was taking care of her, dressing her, feeding her, taking her to therapy, and at the same time knocking out 16 hours, middle of the night, all-nighters. And what Gina didn't say was that I actually track everything. So there's a big bass in my corner. You can't see it, but I actually track cello and bass and viola and violin all by myself, as well as charting. I moved her here, and after 30 years of living in that house, she gave me permission to sell it. So, and that was a legacy that her and my father, you know, they built, and we moved here, and it's been uphill ever since in some ways. And she actually passed away last September. She was diagnosed with lung cancer, but it was like this motion. It was like down with her, but up in my career, literally at the same time. So it's kind of hard to describe, but nonetheless, when she passed away, it all just kind of shot up. So since then, I've done the Grammys. I've written for the AMAs. I've been on the CMAs 2 years in a row. I've done the Dove Awards. I've literally done like 7 shows since last September. I played Lauryn Hill. I called her up. We're cool like that. So I called her up and asked her if I could perform with her with the Hollywood Bowl. And she was like, sure, let's do it. So she got me a 23-piece orchestra, and we did a huge performance there back in October. Gosh, I've done a couple of night shows. I did Jimmy Kimmel with Mariah Carey. I've done James Corden. I can't even remember. It's been so much. It was funny because
she's done everything. So I think one of the questions I have that anyone can answer, especially knowing, you know, everyone here tours, all of us are being affected, whether we like it or not, directly and indirectly by COVID. How do you see, and one person, 2 persons can answer this, how do you see the music industry moving forward, knowing that now what we thought was going to be coming to an end, like there's a resurgence? And so, you know, what are we doing? What are you doing? What should we all be doing and thinking to kind of move business? For how are you pivoting through this pandemic for your business?
I can answer that.
Okay, Nicole.
Well, personally, I'm taking this time to develop other parts of me. I've been very fortunate to be able to work constantly during this. I have a setup at home, a remote setup. I've, you know, trying to just get with the software more. I'm not just a live player and a live composer and arranger. Getting that software, learning that, figuring out that we're sitting with technology right now. And so we may not be able to meet for sessions and things like that. So for me personally, it's studying things that are going to take me different places, different multiple streams of income within the music industry. So
okay.
The same for me. I have, you know, zoned in more on my Pro Tools skills. I'm even able to cut David's bass lines and send them in nice and learn more about technology and what's out there. And also, I've been a chameleon in the music business, jumping from different genres. And I finally honed in on a sound that I love. And now I'm going to work on making that a reality. Because now it's the opportunity for me to build that type of audience that I didn't know that I want, but I want now, because I realize I'm a Linda Ronstadt. I like to sing soul and funk and jazz and blues and country and bluegrass. And this is the moment for me to build that. And I've been doing a few little shows, you know, and I've been just testing the waters. So I'm bettering myself and going after that solo thing I want, but with an audience that'll let me sing it all. But
So,
we're
so
able
let
to
me
be
ask you
together
this,
again.
and I want to ask all of you, because I would make some assumption, and I don't want to assume, but I do feel that there's some kindred thread to all of our stories. And being a creative, you know, and having a career is just difficult in most cities, not just this city. And I really do want to seriously and sincerely celebrate every part of the gifts that you all have. But I also am curious to know, in your career path and on this path that you're on now, like some of the roadblocks, like what have they been and how have you overcome them? Like what's happening in your world that we need to know about? And really what keeps you going? Like what keeps you doing something for 25 years? Nicole, what keeps you being at the top of your game, being the only, you know, Black woman doing what you do in this city predominantly? Armand, Mr. Talkbox, Dwan, like what keeps you moving beyond the obstacles that you turn into opportunity?
I'll jump in on that one. For me, what keeps me going is the mere fact of I feel like I was built for this. I feel like this is what I was put on this earth to do, and that is to inspire and encourage other people. That's the bottom line. It's not about money. It's not about fame, none of that stuff. It's about, I'm here to inspire people. I'm here to give people a sense of joy. And as we all know that we're in a crazy time right now, we have a lot of that coming at us. I feel like my dispensation of time, or my spot in this world, is to remind people that you can see the beauty even in a pandemic. Like you just heard Wendy say, the skills that she's honing in on now, you know, Nicole, the same thing. It's like everybody is tapping into who they are created to be, I believe. And Lecrae, he's a rapper, and I love what he said. He said this saying, it says, being broke made me rich. And what he meant was not having all of the resources to do everything made him hone in and to tap into something that he didn't know that he had. And I just feel like, for me, that's you know, tapping into this stuff and just learning who I am, and learning and being you know, comfortable with who I am and what I do. I mean, I'm the guy that shoves the tubes in his mouth, and you know, people ask us like, what the heck is that thing? Is that a straw? What is that? So it's, you know, so I'm comfortable with that, because they're not talking about their problems right now. They're talking about this guy that's got this tube in his mouth, but at the same time, it's a cool sound that's happening. So that keeps me going. When roadblocks come, I try to find that place. That's, you know, and I don't win on that every time, but when roadblocks come up, that's what I try to lean into. I try to stay focused on, you know what, this is here to make me stronger. I'm going to keep pushing through, and yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, for
Tracy,
me,
go ahead. I think we're getting, Armand, you want to add something there?
yeah, I did just really short, you know, to piggyback off of Mr. Talkbox, is that for me, the roadblocks come from within. It's always like, it's doubt. It's, you know, you don't have the ability to do this. And, you know, like Wendy said, you know, you're honing in on the Pro Tools. You know, you may not have the ability to even, you know, learn Logic or learn what you need to learn. You know, you can't do it. It's always that voice of, you're not good enough, you can't do it. That to me has been the roadblock. In this particular community, I've been celebrated. You know, I've been really inspired and pushed, you know, and people have said, you know, you're good at this, we enjoy your music. And so for me, I found that what keeps me going is similar to what Byron said, is putting a smile on somebody's face, and knowing that even if I put in all these crazy chords, you may not understand what the chord is, but something about it struck a chord within. I didn't mean to be deep, but I was deep. You know?
Yeah.
You can't help it. You can't help it.
I can't help it.
That was great, brother.
Yeah.
That was great, Armand.
That's it.
So the roadblock is always me. And so getting over that and being forced to stay inside, being forced to do what I love to do, outside of the death and people getting really sick and losing jobs and stuff like that. Other than that, this has been a great time for me personally to just hone into who I am and to enjoy the craft.
Right. Well, you kind of you touched on this a little bit, Brian, but here's one of the questions that came in. In today's climate, what do you think is the level of responsibility that creatives have in addressing and articulating and defining spaces for healing in society, especially those operating in faith-based content, but also it doesn't even matter about faith-based. It can be general for any of you. So any of you.
Dwan, I think we should give, first of all, I want you to tell, I'm not going to tell, but I want you to tell some of the artists that you've worked with and what you're doing, and then you can answer that question.
Okay.
For context purposes.
Yeah, I went to school at Belmont University here in Nashville for music education as well, Nicole. So go music teachers, we need them.
Hey.
When I graduated, I started touring with Johnny Lang. I was with Johnny for about 8 years. Currently, I'm the music director for CeCe Winans. I played with Drew Holcomb. You know, Nashville is like, you end up doing a show with almost everybody at some point. But those are kind of the biggest names that I've been involved in recently. To answer the question, you know, creativity is dear to my heart because it's times like this where I feel like, you know, limitation is the start of creativity, in my opinion. When you realize that you don't have enough to do what you're being asked to do, you're required to be creative. And it's uncomfortable in the first few minutes because you think you want, do y'all remember the Crayola box, like the 64 count Crayola boxes and the 128 and like 566, whatever it was?
Yeah.
And you were like trying to color with the forest green and then like the indigo blue. And you're like, I just want blue. I don't care what is other. And I feel like that's what's kind of happening right now, where we were distracted with the many options before now and felt obligated to explore everything. And now we're being forced and obligated to focus on the things that we are actually called and created to do. And I think as musicians, as singers, as producers and songwriters, that's pretty much the message that we're trying to communicate to the world is it's time to slow down and reevaluate what's most important about your life. Where is your family? You know, how is your health doing? You know, have you checked in on your parents? You know, have you prayed in the last 3 days? Because we're so busy trying to fill our lives with the empty things that even as musicians, we get the accolades start to become the goal and the money becomes the goal. And I think now when you're in your room by yourself and no one's having shows, you turn on Spotify just to listen to music. I mean, it's just like, I just want to hear a good song right now. And I'm thankful, as Armand said, it's really sad to hear about all the things that are going on. And it's touched my family as well. But what I'm thankful for is the opportunity to be grateful for limitation. I really do think that's a blessing right now. And I think in that limitation, to answer this person's question, I love how Byron said that he was put on this earth to inspire people. He didn't necessarily say that he was put on this earth to do music. And I think that's really important. I think that praise God for the music that we have. I mean, we're supposed to be doing that, but we're more than musicians. We're more than singers. We are people. We're human beings. We have emotions. We have goals and aspirations. And that's what I want my music to remind people of. No matter what your job or your profession or your goals are, I want them to remember that they're a human being and that they have relationships that they should be attentive to. And if, for whatever reason, this situation keeps you from doing what you thought you were going to be doing, that doesn't downgrade who you are as a person. I believe that God has created us with multiple skills and multiple talents and multiple dreams. And if one is not kicking off right now, to go back to your other question, Gina, what I've learned about obstacles is one closed door is another open door. And instead of stopping at one, I grieve about that, I process it, but at the same time, I'm looking to the left to be, what else is available to me? What other skill can I be building? What other relationship can I be knocking on? What other idea can I be pursuing? Because I think we're valuable human beings. God has invested immeasurable talent in every human being. And I hope that we all walk out of this time more aware of what God has given us.
I love that. That is so good. So good. So
yeah, I think we all have to look at this time in a weird way as a gift that we'll never, hopefully never have again. To do all the stuff that we're doing and things that we said we were going to do, we didn't have the time to. So right on for that.
Well, I've allowed it to, I realize now that I've been doing certain things wrong. I've been rushing to things. I've not been prioritizing the right things. And, you know, we all have goals. You know, we all have, you know, we may not be goal focused or oriented, but we all have certain things that we aspire. And this time has really allowed me to focus on exactly what is important. So if and when the world opens back up again, if and when we get back to normal, I now have to say, okay, what lessons did I learn from this? What am I applying for the rest of my time?
So good.
That's so good. So we have a question here, and I think that it's a great question, actually. All these questions are great. Nashville being welcoming. I've heard that resonate tonight in collaborative. It's a two-part question. So do you find that people are more isolated and closed? Because being collaborative doesn't mean that people are not isolated and closed off. So are you finding that people are more open and less closed? And speaking of collaboration, I know that everyone on this panel has done multiple collaborations. Who would be some of your dream artists to work with? All right, Nicole, I'm gonna start with you, and then I'm gonna toss it to Wendy. And whoever else wants to jump in, you go for it after they speak.
Yeah, I found that a lot of the string players here particularly are super open to collaborating. A lot of them they're so good, and they do multiple things. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here with this. I don't feel like it's any competition. It's not like other places. And in the world of orchestra, and I'm just gonna say it, it can be very competitive. But in this particular setting, they are quite giving of their gifts and time and talent. They'll go play together for free. You know, they'll do this and do that. They'll feature you. It's just it's a very beautiful situation. So I find it to be extremely easy to do with the players here and the other musicians. As far as artists, I don't really have, you know what? That's not true. I really do want to meet Quincy Jones. So if you ever see this, Quincy, I want to meet you.
That's right. Say it.
I really do, because he's like, he's the guy that knew how to write, knew how to chart. He knew how to orchestrate. And that's kind of becoming a thing of the past. So I would love to meet Quincy Jones.
Okay. Manifest it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Manifest it.
All right, Wendy.
Well, you know, I've had the luxury, blessings to like record people all over, you know, we're singing with people all over the world. So I've had these amazing opportunities. And I have to say, in the last 3 years is when I really started to try to, you know, open myself up and be a part of the Nashville music scene. And I have to say that people have been open and gracious and welcoming. And of course, I love the more traditional country stuff. So that's why I love the Opry and all that, because that's just where I fit in. It's like my hee-haw dreams came true. I'm able to perform and sing, and I'm in a Texas swing band. I'm in the Time Jumpers. Now that's music history. That's some music history if I ever heard of it.
Keep making history, girl.
Just keep making history. My dreams keep coming true, you know. And so with that, I hope to open more doors for people who want to be country artists, and there are people of color who really want to get in, and now this is becoming more of a normalcy a little bit. So that's just my feeling when I'm going.
So let's talk a little bit about about the lack of representation. Across genres. Like, how do you deal with that? What does Nashville need to do? Like, if you know, for those that are watching, the ask would probably be, what needs to happen? How can we change what Nashville looks like being Music City? How can we create a richly diverse community that people see and really can, like, what needs to happen? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to know from whoever wants to take the question, you know, what needs to happen?
Oh, you're stuck.
happening. Guys, making this moment. Sorry, am I stuck?
No, you're
It's
good.
No, you're not stuck.
happening. It's happening right now. And this gesture that you guys are making to open dialogue up for communication, this is what it takes. Talking about it, seeing our faces, seeing that we're just like everybody else in here, professional, successful, you know, shooting for greater heights. And I think it opens the door like Hee Haw did for me. It opened the door to that world, because I don't live,
Yeah.
I didn't live in that world, but it gave me some insight to what that's like. And it wasn't that much different than the life that I lived. So it actually, this platform gives the other people in the music community in Nashville a door to what, you know, Armand has to say. What does he do? You know, or Nicole, yeah, we want her. Oh, some people in this town don't even know we have people of color, you know, African-American people that do string arrangements.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that simple.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't know,
it's
and
like,
I'm glad to know now.
Well, I
me too. Me too.
that I can speak to that. There is a in the community, in the Black community, there are actually tons of great string players around the country. Not so much a lot that do string arrangements, I guess, on the industry level, but we do write, and there's a lot of wonderful composers of color. The representation, though, on this level is not what would actually represent who's actually playing.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently did an award show, and there was only 3 of us that they had. I mean, literally living here in Nashville, and then they had to get others from out of town to come in. I think sometimes the issue is that in a certain hub, if we already know the system and that we're excluded from the system, we don't move there. So if I know that I'm not going to get hired anyway, why would I move to a particular city? Why? And the problem is the cities where these players all congregate and they live doesn't have a huge industry for them. So it's like, it's just skipping over them, whether they want to or not. I did the Grammys. They had to fly most of us in to represent 23 orchestral players. And those girls were bad. It was like going through and playing during sound check to listen to everybody have to do sound check and just running up and down their instrument, just killing it.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't all live in that city that was, you know,
Right.
and so that's what I found it to be, is that it's not inviting for us, you know.
I agree 100% with Nicole. And I was going to say to just kind of piggyback on that question is, you know, the people with the power, the gatekeepers got to allow, you know, at the end of the day, and this is just my experience, this might not be everybody's experience, but I've knocked on so many doors and say, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I want to work with you. Let's come together. Let's do it. And then, you know, I'm kind of a special case because of what I do, but it's like, you know, we you know, 24 Karat Magic comes out, and then all of a sudden it's like, he's here.
Okay, I want us to be clear. I want everyone watching to be clear about what you're referring to when you say 24 Karat Magic. Don't be ambiguous now. Tell the whole story.
Tell it.
You know, I'm over here.
And that artist was who?
Yeah.
Bruno Mars.
Okay.
Say it again.
So you know, I you know, I've been in Nashville for 10 years. I've been busting it, man. Like y'all can see, I'm a self-promoter. This is what I've been doing all over the country, everywhere. Like, this is what I do. Like, when you see me, you're gonna more 90% see this shirt, because I'm trying to connect with people and you know, and engage. And so, you know, you go to the gatekeepers and say, hey, let's come together, let's do something. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a hand up. Let's work together.
Absolutely.
And let's do this. You know,
That's right.
so
I have to tell you, this is so important to me. I know we've had some other questions, but this is the crux. This is exactly what we want this to do, to get people to know you. When I moved to Nashville from Los Angeles 30 years ago, I was such an outsider. I was the Jewish girl from LA in country music. And let me tell you, I don't eat, and it was so hard. I found that it was very cliquey at first, and I couldn't break in. And I get a little bit of this, and I think we still have that. And I think it's amazing, again, that we all still stay in our kind of circles, our cliques, and the people we know. And I think right now, if any time it's going to happen where we're going to reach out and discover the Armands, and discover the Nicoles, and discover and bring them in, you know, everyone kind of mixing up, this is it. And I think this is such important, it's hard conversation. And I'm always kind of a little scared to say something, but we're in a safe spot. And this is so important. I'm glad we are talking about it. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say that it's easy, you know, to make the music industry more diverse, to make this town more diverse, but it's easier in 2020 than it was in 2000 or 1990. I can easily say, okay, if I want more white female country singers, man, I pick up my phone and follow them, go to their show. If I want to know about, you know, more R&B singers here in town, I pick up the phone and follow them, go to their show. You know, just go, when you go and support, when you cross the lines, instead of staying within your genre and saying, I'm only going to go to the gospel concert. No, go to the CCM concert. I'm only going to go to the country show. Nah, go to the hip hop, the local hip hop show. You know, if you want to diversify, you can. It's the desire, you know, the desire. Nothing is stopping you.